recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.
Hello, welcome everybody to our March show of So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. My name is Dilla Barman. I'm in North Carolina, and it's March 9th. And the reason I'm saying that, you'll see, it'll become clear in a second. We have something special today to share with you. Let me first mention, this is our So Many Breakfast Foods. And if you're new to our show, welcome. And those of you who've been watching us for a long time, a warm welcome to you as well. Please post, share some comments about where you're from, how you found out about us if you're new, and please post questions anytime. When at the end of the segment, after we finished cooking, we will take questions, and at that point we'll write your names down, and we have 2 giveaways. But the special thing is, well, today we're in our breakfast show. The first segment's about pancakes, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. And then we move on to Ella Rodriguez, who's going to be making an easy waffle dish. And then Nancy Manifold will be making savory steel-cut oats with greens. Susanna Dickman is going to be making a tofu scramble. Suzanne Fellows is going to be making a frittata with chickpea flour. And Janan Orhun is going to round it out with a breakfast quinoa protein ball. So the surprise is, some of you if you've been watching us regularly, you know that in January, 3 of us, Carolyn, Cody, and I, presented on a cruise, a vegan cruise. Holistic Holiday at Sea is another vegan cruise Cody and I presented last year. That just docked a couple hours ago today, and one of our friends, Tammy, was on that. But we were on a new cruise. It was called Health Optimization Cruise, I believe, and we had a great time. So we flew into Florida, and we decided, that was the first time Carolyn, Cody, and I were all together. We said, why don't we cook together? So we made a recording, and that's what we're about to show you. So the first segment is recorded. It's Carolyn, Cody, and me together in Florida. You're going to find it's not Cody's kitchen, not Carolyn's kitchen or my kitchen, but it's an Airbnb we stayed at. So we've never done this before, so excuse me, the technology doesn't work, but I'm going to transition to the recording, and I'll do a proper introduction to the show. And you'll see, I'll say, I don't know who's next, but the next one after us is Ella. So let me get that going, and then we'll get all the other cooks, and we'll be back with you for Q&A. So let me see if I can figure out the technology. See you guys soon. Please post questions at any time. Welcome to the March show of So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. If you're new, we're a group of Physicians Committee Food for Life instructors. We're in a number of states of the United States and a few other countries, and we've been doing this since May 2020. We go kitchen to kitchen and we share healthy, whole food, plant-based vegan dishes that keep you healthy. We teach classes. Some of the classes relate to specific conditions like diabetes and cancer and blood pressure, but our classes are great just for staying healthy. So those of you who are regular will say, Dilla, where are you? Doesn't look like your kitchen. So I want to let you in on something, that we're doing something special. We've actually pre-recorded this piece, and I'm really lucky to be here with Carolyn Strickland.
Hello.
And Cody Stubbe.
Hello.
We're so excited. This is the first time I've cooked with Cody. Never cooked with you.
No.
So it's the first time we're together. Why are we together, and why are we pre-recording this? It's actually January. It's early January. We haven't even done the January show, and we thought we'd take advantage of being together to record a segment and show it in March. So today's episode is So Many Breakfasts, and in my house, oftentimes we don't have much time for breakfast, so sometimes it's cold cereal and some plant milk, like soy milk,
Sometimes it's a quick oatmeal. And sometimes if you have more time, maybe it's something a little more involved. We've had shows, The Kids in the Kitchen. And by the way...
Oh, yes, my daughter, Ava, is with us today.
So our Kid in the Kitchen, Ava, so thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We're all...
You want to say why we're all together?
Yeah, so we're getting on a cruise. What's the name of the cruise?
It's the Health Optimization Cruise on the Celebrity Ascent.
It's
a
the
brand new ship.
It's the first one, and we're going to be doing some cooking demos and talks and just, having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So getting back to the show, so many breakfast foods. We've had, you guys, Kids in the Kitchen, have had a brunch show, and so many cooks in the kitchen, have had a brunch show. Brunches maybe on a Sunday when you have more time. So today we thought we'd make some breakfast dishes. It's January now. You guys are watching this in March. I don't know what everybody else is cooking, but hopefully there'll be biscuits and other things, right? So I'm relying on these guys. They're much better at making pancakes than I am. So we're going to be making pancakes. And the other thing I wanted to say is that we just showed up at this wonderful Airbnb last night, and we're making do with what we're finding.
It's not a very well-stocked kitchen, I have to say. So we're going to try. But it's a good way to show, even if you're an Airbnb, you can make breakfast.
And in a limited time, we have to leave in an hour to Catherine.
It's less than an hour.
So let me let you guys take over, because this is mainly Carolyn's recipe, and I'm going to, when there's a moment, talk about a topping that I'm going to add.
Did you want to start this? Why don't you start cooking now?
So what I'm going to do is, I'll let them talk about the pancakes, but I'm going to be cooking down, and I think, again, you guys have already seen it, but in a week or so, week and a half, we're doing a show. What's our January show? It's so many.
Tempeh.
Okay, so yes. So in February, I'm going to be making sweet foods, and I'm thinking of cooking down fruit. I don't know if it's going to be berries or what it is. But today, what I did is I took 3, and all the recipes will be available to you. I took 3 navel oranges, right? Because we're going to be on a naval ship. Naval ship. So 3 navel oranges, and I chopped it. It's not critical how fine you chop it, because it's going to cook down. So I did 3 navel oranges, maybe half-inch pieces, 3/4-inch pieces. And then we found some very nice, here in Florida, some local organic strawberries, and I took more or less a quart, but we had to eat some of them. They're so good. So it's most of a quart, and I roughly chopped them in quarters. And I'm going to cook this down a bit. We bought some coconut sugar. We try not to add, we don't add refined sugars, but maybe Carolyn will tell you a little bit about the coconut. It's not refined.
Unrefined sugar.
And
it even says it, right?
I know.
Unrefined.
And some zest. So what I did is, it was difficult because I didn't have the knives I'm used to, but I took I tried to not include the white pith, but this is the orange part of the citrus, and it adds a nice taste to the pancake. Right. Okay. So let me start cooking. I'm going to go ahead and add at the same time the orange and the strawberry to a pan.
Heating it for
Okay, excellent.
And there's your spoon.
I'm just going to dump all the ingredients and get them all in at the same time. I wish I had a wider pan, so I can cook down. And so this is a nice touch for the pancakes. So why don't you guys take over, and I'll interrupt you periodically and show you how this is cooking. But I'm just going to cook this down, and if I can get the temperature up, this will start cooking down into kind of a slurry. And you don't need any sweetener. If you have really tart strawberries, you can add a little bit of coconut sugar or something like that.
Right. Maple syrup.
Maybe make some maple syrup.
Okay. So we're making whole wheat pancakes. Which I've made for classes before. So this is organic whole wheat pastry flour that we found last night at the Whole Foods. It's like walking distance from our Airbnb. So we have whole wheat pastry flour. And the regular recipe, you'll see we have the recipes available. And we're using this enormous serving bowl because it's all we can find. And then we have coconut sugar, which is just a tablespoon usually. Okay. And then we have baking powder, which we found this nice small container of baking powder. We're trying not to waste too much by being here in an Airbnb, so we have this. It's just a few teaspoons of baking powder. Just mix some of it all together. So we'll try to get the dry ingredients done first. This is, we searched, I think this was the only bowl we could find, right? So.
Right, yeah, so we'll make do.
Here.
and maybe just a pinch of sea salt. So it's kind of
Carolyn, what's the point of the salt?
So salt is considered a flavor enhancer. So it can help things taste more strong, I guess, to some people. So
But you can omit it if you want.
you could leave it out if you have a blood pressure issue. You could leave it out.
It's such a tiny amount.
It's a very tiny amount, but you do want to make sure your salt is iodized, and this one is not. So, yeah. But for the health of your thyroid, you do want to have the. And salt is an essential mineral. We just don't want too much of it. But I mean, people who go without salt have a major problem too. If you go without salt too long, mammals need salt, right? I mean, like to maintain.
I just finished reading a book about the salt tax in India, and I can tell you a lot about that.
Yeah,
There's malnourishment in India because the British restricted the salt.
Yes, so people do need salt. The problem is in the standard American diet, we get too much
For something like the pancake, it doesn't matter. Correct me if you disagree. You can use any kind of salt because it's such a small quantity. But I think what Carolyn's saying is for cooking at home, make sure that your salt is iodized.
Right.
At least most of the time what you're using. So if you're using salts like Himalayan pink salt or other ones, those are good. They have their own flavor.
Right.
But make sure you have
I
iodized.
probably wouldn't put black salt, the kalanomic in it. That would be a weird flavor in here, but other than that, yeah, it's probably any salt. And Dilip, as he pointed out, did corn zest. Yeah? So let's just throw that in.
Yep.
Can you get that out?
My fruit is sizzling a little bit, but it's good. If I want, yeah.
Okay.
Cook it down.
Let's have it. Okay.
By the way, I should mention that this is our team that does plant-based immersions, and we haven't set dates, but we're hoping to have some dates for the summer, and we'll put a link up. And the cruise, this is the first ever, so we'll tell you when we're live in March how the cruise will have gone, and I hope it will be an annual one, and we can invite folks to join us. Exactly. There's a number of vegan cruises, and wonderful to get to work with you guys.
Yeah, you too.
All right, so we're doing the wet ingredients next, which we have a choice to make here. So typically what I use is applesauce, unsweetened applesauce, but buying last night at Whole Foods a really huge thing of applesauce and then wasting it seems silly. So instead we're going to use mashed banana. So you could use 2 tablespoons of applesauce or 2 tablespoons of mashed banana. So Cody mashed up a banana. So let's make a well in the center.
Okay.
And then we're going to add soy milk too. I need to double this. So pour in 1 cup of soy milk. And I'm going to add another because we actually doubled this recipe because there are 5 of us here. So we're doubling this. So let me add 1 more cup of soy milk.
Thanks to Carolyn's husband, Brian, who's filming. So,
Yep.
Hello, Brian.
Dr. Videographer.
Let's talk about the milk for a second. There's so many plant milks. Use whatever suits you. We're using an unsweetened, I guess for the pancakes, it might be okay as well, right? But
You can use vanilla in the pancakes too.
Yeah.
That'd be really good. Oh, that reminds me. Dilip mentioned we should probably also add maybe a half a teaspoon of vanilla to the recipe, which, you could leave it out if you want to. And we didn't want to buy a whole thing of vanilla last night either, so we're not putting the vanilla. But the topping he's making should be so flavorful that we'll be fine. This is not the best of all.
Sorry, you usually want a whisk too. A fork works, but a whisk is a lot.
There's no whisks here in this Airbnb.
It might be a little lumpy.
Now, you guys can't smell it, but my citrus, if you guys know I'm a citrus being, so the citrus, you guys smell it? The citrus? I don't smell the strawberry yet, but I smell the citrus. Cody, you smell it?
I do.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You're standing there right over it. She's not.
I smell a lot of.
It's getting there. Maybe I know. Can I want me to help with the spoon?
Yeah.
See if that get some of this. I've never actually
A lot of mileage to cover here.
Right. It's a huge bowl. I've never made pancakes in a bowl with square edges to it. Usually they're round.
And would you cook like this for breakfast normally? Maybe yes, maybe no. So
If you're in an Airbnb, you might.
So this might be this could also be a brunch food for sure. Honestly, in my home, I rarely make pancakes, and that's why I totally defer to these guys to make more things than I do. But in my home, it's Ava's colleague, Anu, my daughter, the kid in the kitchen. She makes pancakes almost every week.
It's right.
Usually on a Saturday or Sunday.
That looks perfect. Actually, it looks like pancake batter, and it smells like pancake batter. The thing about pancake batter that what I realized about pancake batter, the thing that makes it smell like pancake batter is the baking soda.
Oh, wow.
That's what it is that we're smelling. When you smell pancake batter and you go, oh, that's pancake batter. This is the baking soda. I think that's got to be, baking powder. I'm sorry. We're not using baking soda. We're using baking powder. But kind of like baking powder biscuits always have that certain smell. They smell like pancake batter. It's the baking powder. That's gotta be what it is. Okay, so I think we've preheated that. Then we will have a water sizzle on it. Throw 3 drops and see if that's nice and sizzly. Yep. And it's ready. All right, let's use maybe the 3rd cup.
Let me make a comment about pan. We're using what's available to us, but we really recommend that you use, this I think is nonstick, which we don't recommend.
That's all we've got.
So we'll do what we can. But we do recommend using a high-quality stainless. And either of you guys want to talk about how to keep the pancakes from sticking if you're using stainless?
You talk about that.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't use stainless for pancakes.
What do you have?
I use non-stick for pancakes because they stick.
Okay.
It sticks really bad. If you're using stainless,
I used to use a little bit of veggie spray. It's a really light layer.
Yeah, so what you can do if you're using stainless, which is what I do, but I don't make pancakes often, is I'll take maybe a paper towel, I'll put a tiny bit of oil, and I'll rub it on the pan so you get a trivial amount of oil, and then I put the pancakes. And it cooks really nicely.
it's already getting bubbles on it. Look at that.
Wow, they're cooking really quick. So
Those are bubbles. We'll move out of the way so our Dr. Videographer can see. It's got little bubbles coming up on it.
That's what you're looking for.
Which is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's perfect. We want the little bubbles, but we're not going to flip it yet.
The alternative on stainless is you can just forego the oil whatsoever and just, use your spatula and constantly kind of rock it underneath. And I've done that as well. Another option for pancakes.
Look at that.
Wow, look at that.
nice.
Yay, it came out beautifully so far.
They're cooking quick.
So we need a plate.
Oh, wow.
They'll
It's on.
Yes.
So right now it's set at low to medium low. Okay.
One thing that you can do at home is add some blueberries.
Oh yeah. So
Blueberries are great, and I like
with
with
the
it.
blueberries is when it's still flipped over the other way.
Yeah.
It's still wet. I just throw blueberries
Yeah.
on top. So, all right. There we go. What temperature do you have that at?
I have this at medium.
Oh, this is perfect. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Here. The beautiful pancake.
Look at that.
It's perfect.
Let's plate that.
Ta-da. Okay.
Wow. And in the interest of time, we'll serve it, but you can cook this down more. But this is also good. You don't want it liquidy.
All right.
So that looks really nice.
Let me stop making little ones. When Brian was little, his mother made what they called silver dollar pancakes. There we go. They were as big as silver dollars, like that, just little pancakes, which I think he and his sister thought were very special kinds of pancakes because nobody else had silver dollar pancakes. I think they figured out as adults they're just small pancakes.
So this is our pancake. We're going to have Ava maybe come and try it and see what she thinks of it. I would cook it down a little bit more so that you don't see such big chunks. They should be a little smaller. But this is fine. The flavor will be great. A little bit of vanilla would be nice. If you really have a sweet tooth, you can add some maple syrup, but I don't find it necessary. We'll see what Ava thinks. When I have pancakes, I usually don't add maple syrup.
Bring me a fork too.
Yeah, you go.
Well, lots of forks. Yeah, 2 forks.
All right.
We're good. Until I spied over the forks. I have it, yeah. I'll try the berries.
I'm still
I'll hold
flipping
it.
over here. Oh, look how pretty. Those are coming out great.
Oh, it's nice and fluffy.
Oh, yeah. This is great pancake.
It's the baking powder. It's the baking powder that makes it so fluffy.
Boy, so bite here.
There's actually kind of a lot of baking powder in it. So for just 1 tablespoon of flour, it's 2 tablespoons. 1 cup of flour is 2 tablespoons of baking powder.
That's very good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, too, that if you're new to plant-based eating or veganism, there's no eggs. There's no eggs in it whatsoever. And I was reflecting yesterday, because did we eat up the storm yesterday? We have picture after picture, and it's all 100% vegan. It's easy, right? It's very easy. So
And
you're
fabulous.
no cholesterol.
No cholesterol needed. So, yeah.
Feel free.
Yum. All right.
Well,
Go ahead.
Fun.
I was just saying thanks for watching.
And-
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been delightful. It's wonderful working with you guys. I hope we have many more instances to do that.
What a team. What a team.
So, hello from Florida. From January, looking forward to March, and I don't know the rest of the program. So
We're kicking it over to somebody.
Yeah. So this was a totally recorded segment. So it's March, although it's really January, and somebody else is going to take over. So many breakfast foods, and we will be there live later on for Q&A. So
Good one, please.
so take care. Thanks for watching.
All right.
Bye from Florida.
Hi everybody, this is Ella Rodriguez. Wow, those pancakes look amazing. It looks like you guys had so much fun, and I heard all about that cruise, so that's awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Ella Rodriguez, and I'm coming to you from Providence, Rhode Island. Today I'm going to make some waffles for you. Here are some waffles that are actually done. I just made some ahead of the time, so I'm going to show you how to make them right now. I really love these waffles because they're so simple, so easy to make. And I remember when I became plant-based, I was really looking for easy recipes. And this, you get to do everything in a blender, so that's amazing. So here we go. For this recipe, I'm going to use some bananas, and this is more like a 1-1-1 ratio. So I'm going to use a banana. Actually, I'm gonna put 2. I'm making it for a family of 4, so you can do 2, you can do 1, you know, depending on how many you want. From 1 banana, you get about 2 waffles. So try to think about it that way. So I'm putting 2 bananas right into the blender. And to that, I'm going to add 2 cups. So I have 2 bananas, 2 cups of a plant-based milk. Today, I happen to use an almond one, unsweetened, but you can use whatever plant-based milk you prefer. So I'm going to add 2 cups of that. And I'm going with the liquid and the fruit at the bottom, so it's just easier to blend that way. And then next, I'm going to add oats. So that's all I really need, just 3 ingredients. So I have bananas, milk, and now I'm going to add 2 cups and a little bit more. So 2.5 cups of oats. I find that for the waffles, you want the batter to be just slightly thicker. So it's not exactly 1-1-1, it's slightly thicker. And then I add a little bit of baking powder to it, probably like half a teaspoon for the 2 bananas. Just a pinch of baking soda. So that's all you need for the ingredients. And I love that all I have to do is just put it all in the blender, blend it up, and then pour it right into my waffle maker. So this is gonna be a little noisy. Bear with me. All right, so that's all you have to do for the batter. One thing I want to mention before I put it in is that when you let it sit for maybe like a minute or so, the batter really thickens out a little bit. So you want to just, wait a little bit. For the sake of the video today, I'm going to rush just a little bit so the video is not too long. So I'm going to pour it right into my hot waffle maker. But you will notice if it's too thin or if it's too runny, you will notice that in the beginning it pours a little bit easier, and then after that you have to scoop the batter with a spoon. So you will see. All right, one thing I noticed for my waffle iron, it's a non-stick one, but I always use a little bit of cooking spray just to make sure that the waffle comes right out nice and easy. So just a little bit like this, not a lot. And then I'm just going to pour my waffle batter right in this, just like that. And like you see, like right now it's a bit runny, and because I have a family of 4 and we love our waffles, I have to have the double waffle maker. But if you're just by yourself, then one, it's enough, just one-sided. But we love waffles in this house. So we go with a double. All right, so just like that, and I'm going to let that cook, okay? While that's cooking, I want to show you how I like to do our syrup sometimes. So for our syrup, I'm going to blend in some blueberries, frozen blueberries, and then some maple syrup. And I do that because berries are so good for you, have so many vitamins and nutrients, and I don't want to have my syrup just plain syrup. So I'm going to mix some berries, let's say I'm going to take a cup of frozen berries and I'm gonna quickly pop them in the microwave just to defrost them a little bit, okay, for like a minute. And then to my other blender, I'm going to add some maple syrup with the frozen berries, and then that's going to create our syrup, okay? And that's what we're going to put on a waffle. And I'm going to go ahead and take some of the waffles that I've done before. Maybe just, let me pick a beautiful one. Okay, that's the prettiest one. Haha. So here is my beautiful waffle. It has beautiful, nice, thick consistency. And to that, I'm going to add the blueberry syrup that I'm going to make in just 20 seconds. Okay, so as you can see, it's simple ingredients, simple recipe. Just all the batters gets done right in the blender, and then nice and easy. And you don't feel guilty, you know, when you want to have that beautiful breakfast food, because you know it has lots of nutrition. Good for you. All right, here are my blueberries, which I defrosted just a little bit. And I'm going to add some maple syrup. Now, of course, if you, this is what I do for my kids, probably the same amount, a cup with a cup, so that we don't go straight with the maple syrup. Sometimes we do, but you know, when we're really trying to think about making it healthier, that's the way to go. So I'm just going to blend this up a little bit. The plate. And now you have beautiful maple blueberry syrup that you can put right on your waffle. So I'm gonna put some right on my waffle, just like that. And if you have fresh fruit, you can totally do fresh fruit, fresh berries. That you can, you know, you can change. You don't have to do just blueberries. You can do something else. And that's about it. Here is a beautiful waffle that you can enjoy. Look at that. Look how gorgeous it looks. And I should have cut it a little bit for you earlier so you can see. You know, just like that. Nice, good consistency. And delicious. So good. I hope I don't have blueberry lips by now. I hope you like it. I hope you give it a try. And you enjoy it. And I'm going to pass it on to Nancy. Take it away, Nancy.
Thank you, Ella. Your waffles look absolutely delicious. I'm Nancy Manifold, and I am making steel-cut oats with savory sautéed greens. And what I thought I would do is start with sautéing the vegetables, and then while they're sautéing, I can talk about the rest of the recipe, just for the sake of time. So what I have done here is added a few tablespoons of water to my non-stick pan. You don't have to use a non-stick pan, but it does make life a little bit easier. So I've got a few tablespoons of water there, and they're just starting to steam and bubble. So what I am adding is I have sliced mushrooms, diced onion, diced carrots, shredded greens, and a little, I don't know if you can see it, a little bit of chopped garlic there in the middle. So I'm putting those in the pan, and while they slowly saute, I will talk about the rest of the recipe. There we go. Put all of that in there. And I'll bring this over just a little bit so you can see it. So I'm gently sauteing it on a low setting. And as the water disappears, as the water evaporates, I have more water to add here. And you just put just a tablespoon in at a time. And if the vegetables stick, that's absolutely fine. Just put a little bit more water in, unstick them, and it just the browning bits just add to the flavor very nicely. So just gently saute those. So as I said, I am doing a savory oat recipe, which is probably less usual. Most people are used to a sweet breakfast in some way. But a lot of people, and there's some well-known people, prefer savory breakfast. For example, Dan Buettner, I was listening to him on a podcast the other day, and he has minestrone soup for breakfast. Chef AJ, who there's a very good exam room podcast with her on it recently, she is a big proponent of a savory breakfast because she said that one of her trigger points is sweet foods. And so she realized early on that if she started her day with a sweet breakfast, that triggered her right at the beginning of the day. So she has a savory breakfast. And of course, Anne Esselstyn, who has her own fantastic savory oats breakfast recipe. So it's just something to think about it for people who prefer to have a savory meal at the beginning of the day. So I'm just keeping an eye on these as I talk. So I have already done the oats because they take a little bit too long to cook to do them in the time of this video. So I have the oats here, and what I have is steel cut oats. Steel cut oats are the least processed oats. So they are the oat kernel that has been chopped and very little else done to them. So they have the lowest glycemic index because they are the least processed, which means that the carbohydrates in the oats, when they break down slowly and are absorbed slowly into the bloodstream. So they're a very good long-term source of energy. And this is what they look like. I don't know how well you can see that, but they're just little pieces of oats. But because they are less processed, they take a little bit longer to cook. So what I have done is I have boiled up some low sodium vegetable stock, and I have put the oats in the stock, and boiled them for 25 minutes. And you can see it makes a very nice creamy mixture of oats, savory mixture of oats. You can have sweet oats, steel cut oats, if you want to mix them with water and add fruit, or mix them with plant milk. But I have done it with vegetable stock to make it savory. So I boiled those for 25 minutes and then left the lid on for another 10 minutes just to let the last of the liquid absorb. So I'll leave that to the side. I better pay attention to my vegetables here. Now, oats are a very healthy way to start the day, whether you prefer savory or not savory oats. Oats are very good at trapping cholesterol in the gut and preventing its reabsorption further into the blood, further down in the gut. So what it does, the oats trap the cholesterol and carry the cholesterol away in our waist. And as a result, it lowers blood cholesterol. So oats are a fantastic way to start the day. The vegetables I have here, you can use whatever vegetables you like. I'm a huge fan of kale, I have to say. Kale is very high in calcium and iron. And who doesn't want that? And young vegetables, well, actually, I lied, they're not all vegetables. Mushrooms are not vegetables, they are fungi, which I didn't really realize until not long ago that mushrooms don't count as vegetables. They are not plants. They are not plants. They are not in the plant kingdom. They have their own kingdom, which is the fungi kingdom. The difference being that plants can produce their own food through photosynthesis, but fungi, such as mushrooms, cannot. They secrete enzymes into the surrounding soil and break down nutrients in the soil and absorb those nutrients as food. And they also, interestingly, while I'm at it, they exchange nutrients with plant roots. So plant roots will give mushrooms various nutrients, and in return, mushrooms will give those plants nutrients. So it's a symbiotic relationship. It's absolutely fascinating, I have to say. So there we go. I've got that sauteed. I'll leave that for another minute or so, and then what I'm going to add is some lemon zest I have here. So I will put that in now. So the vegetables are sauteed, cooked by now. I'll turn that off. Adding the lemon zest and a little bit of red wine vinegar. I'm just putting a teaspoon in because I've cut the recipe back just for a couple of portions rather than too much. So I'm just putting a teaspoon of red wine vinegar in there. Here we go. And stating the obvious, this is full of nutrients with all the plants, but it is also full of fiber. It's a super way to start your day with a high fiber breakfast. So I've got all of that, and I have my bowl here. So I will take my delicious oats. I have a better spoon here. So here's my oats, as you can see. Beautifully creamy, still hot. And putting that in the bowl. You can see the oats there. And I'm going to top it with my sauteed vegetables and greens. And you can obviously use whatever vegetables you prefer. There we go. And if you like, you can put a little bit of hot sauce on that. I'm not a hot sauce person, so I won't be doing that. But add whatever you like to that. A bit of hot sauce goes very nicely for those of you who like hot sauce. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me. And I am passing you along to Susanna Dickman. Susanna Dickman, who is doing a tofu scramble. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susanna Dickman from Evansville, Indiana. Nancy, thanks for your recipe. I can't wait to make it. It looks so good. As I said, I'm Susanna Dickman from Evansville, Indiana, and welcome. We're so appreciative that you take the time out of your busy Saturday to watch us each month. Today, I'm going to make a really easy but really delicious tofu scramble. That's perfect for a brunch. It's great because you could even make it ahead of time and then just, put it in even a warm crock pot and let it warm so you can serve it at your brunch table. And what I love about tofu scrambles is that you can change them up. So you'll notice in the recipe that I provided, the recipe calls for mushrooms, which I have some today, but red and green peppers. I typically put peppers in my scramble, but this time I didn't have any peppers, and the ones in the store didn't really look that great. So I often will come home and look at the vegetables that are in my fridge and use those for a scramble. Some of our favorites that I'm going to use today are zucchini. I had some fresh zucchini. I'm going to use canned mushrooms. Fresh are always great too, but I buy some organic canned mushrooms just to have on hand when I don't have the fresh. And then this may seem a little different to some of you, but I love to put carrots. And so I have some carrots cut up that are not really shredded, but just in little pieces so they'll cook quickly. So those are the vegetables I'm going to have in my scramble today. And obviously, I'm going to use onion and garlic because onion and garlic, I think, are the start of any great recipe. So I don't want to dry saute my onions, so I added just a dribble of water. I'd say less than a tablespoon. You could use vegetable broth if you wanted to, but most of the time for me, water is more accessible, so I just use that. So I am going to reach down and grab my gluten so that I can turn that on to help with the cooking. But we just want to saute our onion until it gets translucent. And I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic too. Let me get that in there. Whoops. Make sure I get it all. We're going to use a clove of garlic. Again, just because that's going to add a depth of flavor. So when this sautés for a minute, I'm going to put the lid on because that will increase some of the heat for it to heat up. So we want the onion to get translucent. And then, as I said, we're going to add our vegetables. And today it's going to be mushrooms, zucchini, and carrots. Peppers are good, broccoli is good. I've even added cauliflower to my scrambles, even celery. We love sometimes. And when I make it, just like I'm doing now, we'll go ahead and saute the vegetables a few minutes so that they become soft, so that once we put the tofu in, because the tofu, as we know, is already cooked, and all we want to do is heat it thoroughly. So the onions are starting to get a little translucent, so I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetables, and you will see them when I add them to the bowl. I just, you want to think about color when you're making a scramble. So we're going to let this sit. I'm not going to add any more liquid because zucchini is really going to add a lot of the liquid. So I don't want to add too much. So I'm going to put the lid on and let it steam for just a little bit. Then we're going to add our spices. And in many recipes for tofu scramble, you'll find cumin. Cumin, I think, just adds a depth of flavor. It's one of our favorite spices. I know it's the one that I am constantly writing on my list that I need to go buy some more cumin because we use it daily and we use it up. Another ingredient we're going to use is turmeric, and turmeric has many anti-inflammatory properties. I know Dr. Greger mentions taking at least a quarter teaspoon of turmeric a day in your spice jar for longevity and for other things. And it's also going to make our tofu turn that yellow color. Again, when we talk about a tofu scramble, a lot of how we eat is with our eyes. And so if it's white, we may not think of it as, kind of like an egg substitute. And so that's going to make it turn yellow. We've also got black pepper, because as most of you know, many of you know, in order to activate the inflammatory properties of turmeric, we need to add black pepper. And then salt. The salt, I put a half a teaspoon. You can omit salt if you're not using, that's totally fine. If you omit salt, you might want to add maybe a half a teaspoon of miso, because miso is a good substitute to bring that salty kind of saltiness flavor without adding the sodium. So that's totally up to you. Lastly, I have some green onions that I'm going to put on top. So I'm going to go ahead and look, and I don't want my vegetables to be totally cooked because they're still going to cook a little bit with the tofu in. So I'm going to go ahead and add my tofu. I pressed my tofu, and I went ahead and I'm going to just crumble it up. Sorry, my watch was ringing, even though it's on vibrate. But let me go ahead and I'm just going to crumble it up. Doesn't have to be that small because we can crumble it later with our spatula once we get it in. But there it is, just right in there, and I'm going to incorporate it around, and then I'm going to add my spices so that my my scramble will turn yellow. Man, AC. There we go. All right. So does that look pretty? I think it looks pretty just like that. And again, the tofu, you can see some big chunks, but as we process it and heat it up, it will get smaller. So let me go ahead and just stir it around. I added, remember, cumin and turmeric and pepper and salt, and that is all. You know, minimal ingredients, but I think all of those spices are really flavorful, and they're really going to add the depth of flavor for the scramble that we want to have. Ways to serve this. You know, our favorite way is with corn tortillas or flour tortillas. If you're using it for a brunch, you could have some tortillas on the side, some salsa we like to add, or some type of hot sauce, because to me, you know, ketchup even. Some people used to put ketchup on their eggs. You may want to put ketchup on your scramble. I do have a piece here of Ezekiel bread. This is Dave's bread, not Ezekiel, but we also use the Ezekiel bread. So, you know, a tofu scramble sandwich, or however you want to serve it. I am going to add just a tiny drizzle, maybe a tablespoon of liquid, and let those vegetables heat up again and kind of mash. You know, I want it a little bit mashed. One thing I want to talk about is that some people like to add the black salt in their tofu scramble, and that could be something you could sprinkle on. When you use black salt, you want to sprinkle it on after you take your scramble off the heat, because the heat kind of deactivates the flavor. So that's something that I learned. But for me and my family, I love the black salt and other things when I make an egg salad or something like that. But when I make the tofu scramble, I don't feel like I need it. I just like it to have these flavors. But you can see now, we're getting that yellow. And my vegetables, let me try a piece of zucchini. I like the zucchini not to be mushy, to have a little tenderness. The carrot is perfect. So for me, I'm going to call this done. As long as the zucchini and the carrots are done, the mushrooms will be done, because again, they were cooked already. So the tofu is warmed, and this is done. Yes. So I am going to go ahead and plate some of this, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some of the green onions. So let me go ahead and put this on a plate so you can see how beautiful it looks. And if you don't want bread, as I said, corn tortillas. You might also want to, some of these are really big. I'm going to take some out now, some like those. You might want to even use flour tortillas. And people can make burritos for the brunch. Tofu scramble is great for breakfast in a burrito to take on the road when you're traveling or something like that. But I hope you enjoy and make a tofu scramble. Maybe in the comments, if you want to write, what are some vegetables you like to add to your tofu scramble? Broccoli is really good. I didn't get to buy any. I would use fresh broccoli, but you can also use frozen broccoli. Just thaw it out and, try to get some of the moisture out of it. But there you go, a quick and easy tofu scramble. Thank you again for watching. I hope that, I don't know what I was going to say. Sorry. Thanks again for watching. You can follow me on Eat Plants Be Well, or join my husband and I on Facebook at Eat Plants Be Well for Meatless Monday, Evansville. And next up is Suzanne. And Suzanne, I'm so glad you're joining us, and I can't wait to see what you're making today. Take care, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. Susanna, that tofu scramble looked delicious. This is something a little bit similar, an egg-like breakfast product. Today, I'm going to show you how I make a vegetable frittata. Now, this is really versatile because you can put it into muffin pans and bake them and have individual little breakfast muffins, or you can make it as a frittata. You could also pour the batter into a quiche, into a pie crust and create a quiche. So this is really versatile and it's a really great recipe. So our base, our batter, is made from chickpea flour, water, a non-dairy milk, and a little bit of baking powder. We can then add lots of spices to really make it anything that you want it to be. You could add Mexican seasonings and also throw in some black beans and create a Mexican flavor. You could then also, once that's baked, you could use that as a filler to create a breakfast burrito. So this is a really great recipe, and I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I do. So we're going to go ahead and start with our chickpea flour. And chickpea flour can get a little bit clumpy when you start baking with it and when you start mixing it. So you can also make this batter in a blender if you prefer. I'm just going to whisk it today so the blender's not too noisy. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is measure out our 2 cups of chickpea flour, which another name for chickpea flour is garbanzo bean flour. You might find it listed as that. Now you can always buy this online, but honestly, it's available in most grocery stores. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the side of my measuring spoon just to sort of make sure that this is even. And now there's lots of different ways you can, rather different types of milks that you can use. There's coconut milk, almond milk. I really like flax milk. I feel that it tends to be clean. It usually does not contain any oils in the milk. And you can also get it with added protein. You can even buy it flavored if you prefer it that way as well. So we need 2 cups of garbanzo bean flour. And I know I'm making a little bit of a mess here. Two cups of flour. And as I add my milk, I'm going to, or any liquid for that matter, I'm going to whisk it as I pour, and that'll help prevent it from forming a bunch of clumps. So this is first a cup of water. So I'm just going to start sort of stirring and mixing it at the same time. And then I'm going to measure out my milk. And we're going to do a cup of each. And whenever you're using non-dairy milk, you always want to be sure to shake it first. I just shook it real well before we started today. And I'm going to go ahead and start mixing more of the liquid into the flour to keep mixing it thoroughly. And wiping down the sides with the whisk and then continuing to mix again. And you just want to mix this so that it does not form any clumps, and you try to really get rid of all those clumps. And like I said, it's really easy to also throw this into a blender and make it that way. Now we're also going to go ahead and add a half a teaspoon of baking powder, and that'll help make this a little bit fluffy and rise a little bit as it's baking. So this was definitely something that I tended to miss when I first became plant-based 10 years ago, which I can't believe it's been that long, and what an amazing journey it's been. But the reason for that is because breakfast, especially a nice brunch, is one of my favorite meals. And when baking for a crowd, especially non-vegans, although I hope more and more of my family continue to jump on the vegan bandwagon, making this for a crowd is actually a really nice omelet, quiche, egg replacement that people tend to enjoy at a breakfast meal. So I went ahead and added a teaspoon of baking powder to help that rise. And the next thing we're going to add are our seasonings. And you also can even just leave this as simple as it is right now and just add a little bit of salt and pepper. You could also just season it at the end. You can also serve it with salsa afterward once it's baked, and that also gives it a nice flavor. And today I am using just some salt and pepper and really over your recipe in case you accidentally spill, so you wouldn't ruin your actual recipe. It's about a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of turmeric, and you could almost even use a full teaspoon of turmeric. I love the color that it gives and the spice. The seasoning's a bit savory. And especially when you're making an egg replacement type of dish, it is nice when it has that golden color to it that turmeric provides. And the other flavor I really like to add is onion. Another thing that you can do is go ahead and caramelize onions to add with your vegetables. But today I'm just going to use onion powder. And again, you can really use up to a half teaspoon to a teaspoon of onion powder, depending upon the flavor that you enjoy. And then you're going to mix up all those seasonings. Again, just taking one last check to make sure that there's no big clumps in here. And then you're going to go ahead and stir your vegetables right into this mixture. So today I am using spinach, zucchini, tomatoes, and shredded carrots. Sometimes I just like to be a little bit lazy and go ahead and buy my carrots already shredded. So you want about 2 to 3 cups of vegetables. So I'm going to use this as my guide for the amount of vegetables that I'm going to have. So I'm going to first add some carrots to the bottom. And then I'm going to start chopping the zucchini. Now today I bought baby zucchini to use in this recipe. And I'm just going to go ahead and quarter them so that I would have 4 small strips. And then I'm just going to go ahead and chop them. Again, there's no right or wrong. You could choose to make all shredded vegetables. You can cut your tomatoes in circles if you wish. I apologize for that. I was having some freezing issues. But anyway, you're going to go ahead. You're going to chop your vegetables. And as I was saying, I'm not 100% sure if you heard, as I was saying, is that you could make them all strips. You can make them all julienne. You can make them all circles. You can really cut them any way you wish. I really liked my zucchini left a little bit chopped. I like my spinach finely chopped. And I also like using the tomatoes in little circles and leaving them on the top. And I'll show you how I do that in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and just continue chopping these vegetables. So we're going to use this as a guide so that we know approximately 2 to 3 cups of vegetables. Now, especially on the baby zucchinis, I don't waste the little tops. They're very tasty. They cook up really nice. I know some people like to cut off the tops and bottoms of their vegetables. And when I'm using the baby zucchini, I do not bother doing that. And now I'm going to take all this spinach. And the way I try to get my spinach finely chopped is I sort of roll it all together as best I can. And then I start from one end, being very careful not to cut my fingers. And I just go ahead and I start really thinly chopping. So I kind of make a little bit of a log out of all that baby spinach. And then when I get to the end, I re-roll it again. And then I'll go a couple sideways. So I have a nice fine chop. And then this will sort of pack into this 2-cup measuring cup. And if you really push it down, this is about 2 cups of vegetables. And the rest I'm just going to scrape and throw right in here. I'm going to mix these in. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this a nice little toss. Making sure all the vegetables are well coated and mixed through. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this into a prepared pan. And I want to take a minute to show you how I prepare my pan. So I really like to use parchment paper because I know that the bottom won't stick if I have parchment paper in it. You know, this is a pie dish, so it's also kind of hard to cut a circle. So my trick is I turn it upside down. I put my piece of paper on top of it. I let it stick over about a half an inch, and I then cut a circle around it. So then I can flip this over, and I do still use a little bit of coconut oil spray. And that also helps the parchment paper stick down. And it just guarantees I'd be less likely to stick. And I just get the sides really well. When I move my thumb from, I do it again. And then I go ahead and I press this down. And then it sticks well. So when I go to pour it, it's right in there. Now, I hope you will enjoy this recipe as much as I do. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. And I had already preheated the oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to let it bake for approximately 30 to 35 minutes. I'm going to use a toothpick to make sure that it's done at the very end. And right before I put it in, I'm going to slice these tomatoes in little circles because I do think it looks so pretty to have a decoration on the top. And so I take my tomatoes and I make little slices and I decorate. You could almost use them as little markers so then you know where to slice when you're done. And another way to slice this is you can also make squares out of it. You don't have to slice it as a pie slice. And if you even have a square baking dish. It's also another way that you can go ahead and bake your frittata. So I'm going to go ahead and just make little circles, scatter the tomatoes around, and then I will put it into the oven, and in 30 minutes I will have a beautiful, as you can see, a beautiful frittata to serve for breakfast. So I hope you will enjoy this recipe and have a wonderful day. And now we're going to take it to Shannon. See you later.
Thank you, Susanna. Chickpea flour frittatas omelets are amazing for us vegans, and your recipe sounds really good. Welcome everybody to my kitchen in Abu Dhabi. Once again, we get together. This month's show, as you've seen, is all about breakfast foods, and I've picked a quinoa dish for us. Often we use quinoa in savory dishes. I was introduced to using it for breakfast in our Food for Life classes, and I've done my version of how we can use quinoa for breakfast. So let's get to it. You see all sorts of things on my kitchen counter, and it of course involves cooking quinoa. So I started that earlier so that we can quickly move on to the rest of the recipe. First of all, I rinsed my quinoa. Some of them don't require it anymore, but they're not labeled in Abu Dhabi with instructions whether to rinse or not, so I rinse them. Quinoa is high in saponins, and it might give upset stomach to some people. Therefore, I fill this bowl while rinsing it, and then I empty it, and then I fill it again and leave it around there for 10 minutes or so till they're nicely soaked and the saponins go, and then I give it a few more rinses, and then I take all the water out and go on using my quinoa in the recipe. So here I have 2 cups of vanilla milk, but soy milk with no vanilla, sorry. It's unsweetened soy milk, so I can use it for other purposes as well, not just for sweet dishes. So 2 cups of soy milk and 1 cup of quinoa that I had rinsed before. They've cooked a good 10 minutes, and I have just turned it off. They've been getting nice and fluffy here. I let it rest for about 5 minutes. In it, there's also 2 tablespoons of flax seeds and some vanilla beans. So I can't find good quality vanilla extract here, so I use vanilla beans. And instead of working hard to get all those little seeds out, I just basically slice it and put the beans in as I'm cooking. So I'll fish one out for you here. You can see it. Here it is. So this is a vanilla bean that was sliced and cleaned as much as possible into the pot, but I also put the whole thing in there. So the aroma here is yummy. That's probably why I was calling it vanilla milk. So here it is. This has already been cooked. This is a big goo, as you can see. It's just like porridge. And right now it's quite globby and thick. Just look at it falling. You can thin it, of course, as you want. Then I might add some more soy milk to it. But I will just go and assemble it. I have also 1 cup of blueberries. These are frozen blueberries that I buy here. They're much more economical to buy frozen, and I'm lucky, even though this must not be the most sustainable way. I have wild blueberries from Maine. No, yay, modern world. They smell so amazing. So I'll put my blueberries in. There we go. And give it another mix. Now it's smelling even nicer. I still have several vanilla beans in there. So now the color has changed, as you could imagine. It sort of looks like a blueberry muffin mix at the moment. Let's look. Take a look. It just looks like blueberry muffin mix. Then now the wild blueberry smell together with the vanilla is amazing. So our recipe also calls for cinnamon. I put a little bit in the mix, about a quarter tablespoon, but I love cinnamon, so I will also sprinkle some on my own bowl. Maybe I should just bring it here. Then I should put under it so I can mix everything here. This is looking beautiful. And as you may see here, I have a whole bunch of other things. I have some lemon. I've used half the lemon and made a zest with this funny gizmo. I love it. How can you live without it? Sort of you slice it on the surface of the lemon, and it just gives you wonderful zest. And then I further chopped it down. I don't know if you can see it. Into very small pieces. This is about a teaspoon of lemon zest. I put it at the end because then the smell, the aroma, and the lemony flavor is more potent, and I like that. But you can also add it while you're cooking. I'm giving it another good mix, and I have 2 tablespoons of dates. They will give nice sweetness to our mixture. I used 2 tablespoons. For me is these 4 medium-sized dates. So if you're using giant medjool dates, you might want to use only 2, or use more if you want it sweeter. So here's my dates are in there too. And I've chopped some walnuts, but I'm gonna put them all on my bowl when I serve it because my husband doesn't like so much walnuts, nor does he like chia seeds. So I have soaked my chia seeds. This is 1 tablespoon of chia soaked with like 4 or 5 tablespoons of water. It's been waiting there. I did that because I prefer them already soaked, and they're easier to digest for me. Therefore, they're nice and globby here. And that's it. So our breakfast protein quinoa is ready for dishing out. Here behind me, you see this gizmo. This is how I grind my flax seeds. It's actually a coffee grinder. I just before this show put a whole bunch in it and just ground it. It has a nice handy dandy cover, which allows me to take the newly grown things out. So I have just about a 1/4 of a cup of ground seeds, which I put in a jar and stick in the fridge, and I use it, and then when I need, I grind more. So back to my recipe. It's all mixed in. So I will put some on my breakfast bowl. Look at the beautiful color. Watch out as you, if you like me have used the whole vanilla bean. Watch out because they're in there hiding. I'm taking some out. So here's my bowl. I'm going to put this back now. It has a beautiful color. And to this, I'm going to add my own personal 1 tablespoon of chia seeds so that my husband doesn't get grumpy. Well, he's such a trooper. He's not 100% whole food plant-based, but he loves that, and I cook amazing dishes for him at home. I'm whole food plant-based, and he's one who goes not plant-based when we go out, and that's his choice. But I'm grateful that he joins me with our home cooking. Oh, look at that! I have another one here. I don't want to eat the whole bean. So I can now make my own. So this is all mixed. I have my chia seeds for the day and some walnuts, but this is too thick for my liking, so I'm going to add a little bit of soy milk just to make it a little bit more softer, and add my walnuts. Here you go. This is wonderful for breakfast. It gives you tons of fiber, protein, minerals, not to mention flavor. It's yummy, it's healthy, but I've called my breakfast quinoa bowl breakfast quinoa protein bowl. And I'll tell you why. I have my cheat sheet here. This basically is 1 cup of cooked quinoa. 1 cup of cooked quinoa, and a tablespoon of the chia, a tablespoon of the flax, soy milk, the walnuts. All of it together gives me more than 15 grams of protein to start my day. And equally beautiful, it also has more than 10 grams of fiber, loads of calcium, potassium, magnesium, and other minerals and vitamins. So what a good way to start your day. Oh, did I say the blueberries? What are they famous for? Anthocyanins. So you also get your berries in, your anthocyanins, and start your day in a very healthy way. This ends my recipe for today. I hope to see you all next time in April. And now we move on to Q&A. I won't be joining in, but you're in good hands with my friends and colleagues from the show. See you all next time. Bye.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Let me bring on to our Q&A the rest of the groups. So we have Nancy joining us from England. Hello, Nancy. It's wonderful to have you back on the show after an absence. And there's Cody. It's always good to see you, Cody.
Hi. Great to see everybody.
Wonderful to cook with you.
You too.
And there's Carolyn. What a nice team we formed, cooking together.
Hello.
And I think Suzanne is about to join us. There's Suzanne. I'll give her a second to get there. She is. Okay, let's add her too. So Suzanne, and Suzanne, it's a treat to see you too. We haven't been lucky enough to cook with you in a while, and I'm so glad that you were able to join. So I have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to deputize Nancy to take notes when people ask questions from this point on. If you're okay, Nancy, with it, she's going to write your name down and put a number. So the first person to ask a question will get number 1, then number 2, and then we have a drawing, and maybe Cody can tell us what the drawing is for. We have 2 wonderful gifts, and so there's been lots of great questions so far, and we really appreciate all the questions. We like the show to be as interactive as possible. But then from this point on, questions that come in will qualify for the gifts. So Cody, what are the gifts?
Okay, so I know one is a year subscription to Veg News, and the other one is a cookbook, and I cannot find the name of it here. Do you have it?
And I can help you. So yeah, it's a cookbook that Karen discovered, and it's by a woman named Ashley Madden. And I don't know her. I don't know if any of you guys know her, but Karen is fabulous at finding prizes. And Ashley Madden seems like she might as well be a Food for Life instructor. She has written a number of books. I think it's a number of books, but certainly this book. And it seems consistent with the way we cook. It's whole food, plant-based, no oil, no added fat. So do any of you guys know her work? Have you seen her book? We should get a copy for ourselves, shouldn't we? So, and Karen may be joining us for Q&A. She was going to be on the show, and something happened last minute. So if she joins the show, maybe she'll share a little bit more about that. So anyhow, I've been texting with her with a couple of questions that came in to help us with that. Okay, so the first question is Bonnie McFall. So Nancy, please write Bonnie's name down. With respect to the pancakes, I remember from the past for pastry flour that you can't substitute whole wheat flour as it will change the recipe. I always use whole wheat flour. I recall not having pastry flour and using whole wheat, and it didn't turn out. What has been your experience? So Carolyn.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you?
Okay, good. I think in our segment we used whole wheat pastry flour, so it was whole wheat, but it was also pastry flour. So that's what I usually use to make pancakes. But yeah, I mean, I guess I've made them with 100% whole wheat, not pastry flour. They come out a little denser. So whole wheat pastry flour is just ground a little bit more, I think, to make it a little lighter. But yeah, I haven't had too much of a problem substituting one for the other. So
I don't do a lot of baking. My daughter does, and I always encourage her, and she always does it. She'll like when she takes a recipe that she modifies. She was telling me this past week she likes to first make the recipe as is. Obviously, if it's not vegan, she veganizes it, but then she'll add extra, whole wheat flour. So my wife takes the position, like my wife likes white rice. I don't. I like brown rice, and my wife says, because my wife cooks every Sunday since I teach all day Sunday. And when I come home, there's often some white rice. There's a lot we could say about rice and why we should minimize eating rice due to mercury, or not mercury, arsenic, and we can talk about it some other time. But my wife takes the position, which I don't agree with, and she says, Dilip, you cook such great, high fiber dishes that for us to eat white rice once in a while is no big deal. And I say, yeah, maybe so, but it tastes better, and why not have that extra fiber? There's no downside. But anyhow. So flour, I recommend, if possible, to use the whole flour. Easy question from, and thanks, Infinite Love and Gratitude. Please make that into a question and you can be in the drawing. But the next person in the drawing is actually Eileen Granite. So in the frittata recipe, what milk was used? So Suzanne.
So I happened to use flax milk that day, which I buy the flax milk that also has extra protein in it. So it just gives it a little bit of some extra protein in the recipe. I buy the unsweetened flax milk. And I also like the Good Karma brand because it doesn't have, I believe that's what it's called, is Good Karma.
Yes.
It does not contain extra oils. I'm pretty sure that's the one that does not contain extra oils. So when buying plant-based milk, a lot of them have oils in them. And so I just feel that it's just one more place where you can eliminate oils and just to pay attention to the milk that you buy, because a lot of plant-based milks do have added fillers. And the same thing with coffee creamers that are plant-based. A lot of them have extra either safflower oil or corn oils or just vegetable oil, whatever it may be. It just is an unnecessary ingredient. So I try to avoid that one, whatever plant-based milk I choose. But honestly, the recipe will, I mean, it's such a small amount. It's, just a couple tablespoons of milk that you need, that really any plant-based milk will be perfect. I mean, I don't think I would use something that's sweetened or flavored, but just a plain plant-based milk is great.
I'll mention that my experience with plant-based milks are that any milk works equally well, except rice milk. Rice milk tends to be a little bit thin. So if I'm making a substitute, and I have found, I haven't bought rice milk in a long time, and any of you guys please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think rice milk generally isn't as nutritious as the other milks. I could be wrong. I know it's fortified. Um, Speaking about flax milk, Suzanne, I was thinking about this. I love flax milk, and I like that brand Good Karma. And it comes in all these varieties, including extra protein, which we really don't need. We're eating,
Right.
Americans and people in general are eating way too much protein. So it's the reason they do that is because we ask for it. But I would avoid things that say extra protein. With the exception of tofu, extra protein tofu is thicker and it makes air fried tofu better. So that's the reason I like the high protein tofu. But Suzanne, I like that Good Karma, and I'm generally price insensitive for food, but I find the flax milk quite expensive. And I don't know if you can make flax milk. So if you know how, because I know when you blend, if you were to grind it, I'm not sure it would become homogenized enough. And when you grind it, you add heat, which destroys the lignans and destroys a lot of its nutrition. So did you want to talk a little bit more about flax milk?
So I always buy that flax milk. I've never tried making flax milk, but I do wonder maybe in one of the like actual milk makers, as opposed to just using your own blender to make milk. And I don't know if any of you guys have done that, but if maybe like with the Nutter, if you guys ever heard of that one, it's NUTR, to make milk. I don't know if that would maybe do it a little bit better than just trying to make flax milk on your own.
I have a milk maker, and it doesn't. So it can make rice milk, soy milk, almond milk, but can't make seed milk.
Yeah. No, so I don't know them.
So you've inspired me. Next time I shop, I think I will buy because that's probably my favorite milk, the flax milk. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody has to make their own decisions on money. Obviously, it's a very personal thing, and I'm generally very price insensitive with food. But for whatever reason, I was thinking about this recently. Is I love buying frozen vegetables and fresh for sure, but frozen is nice because often you can get organic when they're not generally available. And for months, I wasn't buying the roasted corn kernels they sell at Whole Foods Market. I was buying white, which I like, or yellow. But the roasted is 30 cents more. It's like, Dilip, really? 30 cents? Really? And so I've decided I'm always going to buy the roasted corn. I can afford 30 cents. And same thing with the flax milk. It's what, $1 more? I think I can afford it. So
I'm in Michigan, and we actually I'm very fortunate because I have a lot of grocery stores near me, and many, like our Kroger, compared to our, more specialty markets, there's a Whole Foods, there's Kroger, there's this place called Thrive. It's not related to the national one. I mean, there are Plum Market. There are so many healthy markets near me that they tend to be maybe like a little more competitive with one another to keep the cost down on those sorts of things. So sometimes I benefit from it because sometimes when the flax milk is on sale, it's less money than just the almond milk. So
yeah.
I'm lucky in that regard.
Another comment about milk is, as I mentioned, the big vegan cruise, the Holistic Holiday at Sea that our friend Tammy, she must be driving home by now because it docked hours ago. But the first time I went on that cruise, I often like some milk, some plant milk with breakfast, and they didn't have it. So I asked, and they brought it out. And this is years ago when my daughter was like 5 or something like that. And they brought an unsweetened soy milk. And I said, this tastes a little strange. And then by the second or third time, I said, this is good. And now all of us, daughter included, we don't like sweetened milks. So we make our own milk, or when we buy milk, we buy unsweetened. You just don't need the sweetness. It's kind of strange. It's like, why add sweetness to your milk? If you're making a milk-based smoothie, and you want some sweetness, you can blend some dates in with that. And when you do that, you can also blend some cinnamon to help with the sugar uptake. Question came in. Oh, and one more thing about milk is you can easily make your own almond milk. You just blend almonds and then you put it through a a paint thinner bag or a cheesecloth
She's
bag.
called-
Cheesecloth. Kathleen King, let's add her to the list of questions. And it's good to see you, Kathleen. I think you're new to the show, so welcome. I would love to hear how you found out about our show. How do you air fry tofu? We have an expert here. Her name happens to be Cody Stubbe, and I've had her air fried tofu. It's when I visited her, that was the first thing she made for me. It was so good. I think you made it twice for me. It was so good. So share with us, please, Cody. How do you air fry tofu?
Okay, so it's one of the most simplest recipes. Basically, you take your firm or extra firm tofu, and I just very quickly just slice it in the container, drain it, and then slice it up and lay it out on freshly washed kitchen towels. Or I can do a tofu press before I do that. And then I put another fresh towel on top and just a little pressure on it for about 5 minutes. Leave it on there, and then I just make sure they're cubed. And then I put it in a bowl with a little bit of added low sodium soy sauce or liquid aminos. And then depending on what I make, sometimes I do garlic powder sprinkled on it, nutritional yeast, and sometimes ginger. It just kind of depends if I'm making a Thai dish or something. Ginger is always really good to add to that. And just mix it around, coat it good, and then toss it in my air fryer. And then it's about 15 minutes at 400 degrees, and it's crispy on the outside and kind of chewy on the inside. And that's just such a really great recipe. It's very versatile. You can change it to whatever flavor profile you want with it. So very quick, easy. I like to make it on workday nights, and the kids, the whole family loves it. So.
Janet, good to see you here, Janet. You have a couple questions. Can you blend whole wheat flour in the Vitamix to get it lighter in texture? I'll put both her questions up. And then also, Ella is not with us for Q&A. What kind of waffle maker do you recommend? Let me quickly answer this question and have somebody else answer the whole wheat. Years ago, before I was a Food for Life instructor, before I knew that much about cookware, I bought a standard off-the-shelf Hamilton blend or whatever waffle maker. And I used to every Sunday almost make brunch. I'd have my parents come over. They both passed away, but when they lived around the corner, and my wife, who was a newlywed and all, we'd have brunch. I'd make hash browns with a little bit of oil, which I don't use anymore, and waffles and fruit, and I'd have really big, nice brunches. So I still have that waffle maker. I don't use it very much. If I were to buy a waffle maker today, I wouldn't buy the one I have. It's Teflon coated. And in fact, it has some scratches, which means I really shouldn't be using it anymore. So I don't know. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing if any of you have a recommendation. Maybe there's a nice ceramic waffle maker, and I'll probably buy it if there is. So can anybody speak to that? And can anybody ask about blending whole wheat flour?
I do not have a good waffle maker. I need one myself, so I cannot recommend that, but I can talk about flour.
Go ahead.
The Vitamix has an actual blender jug thing that is made for dry goods. So if you try to do it in a regular Vitamix jug, it's not going to spin the right way. So the Vitamix dry goods blender actually is specifically made for grinding whole grains into flours. And probably also you could use it to do a lighter, fluffier, put whole wheat in it and pulse it a few times and get it a little lighter and fluffier. I don't know. I guess you could try it in a regular Vitamix jug, but I would probably see if I could get the dry goods one, just because I think it would work a lot better.
My Ninja had an attachment with it. So I stepped out of the screen a second because I was looking to see if I had it so that I could show you. So my Ninja motor, unfortunately, burned out, but I thought I had kept the containers. But anyway, it actually is just two, the Vitamix has 4 blades that come up, or maybe 2 up, 2 down, and the flour attachment, I believe, is just 2 blades, and I can't remember if they both point. I think they both point down. Mm-hmm. And so there's something about the direction and how it chops it, and how it's not as finely ground as the true Vitamix blender. So it's just a double. It's just a 1, 2 across, I should say, versus 4.
Yeah, good. And my daughter came across this. She was making a recipe
a baked dish just a few days ago, and she needed granulated sugar, and we prefer to use other things like coconut sugar or monk fruit, although monk fruit, Carolyn will tell you, has some controversy. So she said the first time she's going to just use turbinado sugar, and she didn't use very much of it. So she put it in it was her own idea. She put it in the blender and turned it on, and she said, look, it's granulated and looked that way. Question came in from Shirley Ann Mooney, and it's good to see you, Shirley Ann. I think you're new to the show. We'd love to hear how you found out about the show. Does white rice have any nutritional value? I prefer the taste of white rice. I'll make a quick comment, and then let's see if Nancy is our expert with culinary medicine. Nancy can add a little bit more than what I'll add. So white rice has some nutritional value, but all the fiber is really stripped away. So you can take my wife's perspective if you're eating really well. And my perspective too. I love brown rice. I prefer the flavor. I know that I'm getting all the fiber. But for me, once in a while, if I eat white rice, it's a treat because it's different. It tastes different, even though I prefer the flavor of white rice, brown rice. So once in a while, getting white rice, I kind of like, um, knowing that it's not the star of the plate. I'm going to be serving it with some tofu or beans or something else. You can take the perspective that every bite counts. I think Karen would probably say that. But Nancy, would you like to share a little bit about the nutritional value of white rice?
My understanding is that rice, one of the nutritional values of rice is that it's high in B vitamins, such as folic acid. My understanding is that it's the husk on the outside of the grain, the rice grain, that has most of the vitamins in it. So, and white rice lacks that. So, white rice is basically brown rice, but with the husk removed. So I couldn't say definitely how much there is in the way of nutrients in white rice, but I'm fairly confident in saying that most of the fiber and the B vitamins have been removed in the making of white rice. So I don't think it's completely devoid of nutrients, but brown rice is much higher in the key nutrients that you want and the fiber. I agree with you, Dilip, as well. I prefer, it's a very individual thing. I much prefer the flavor of brown rice. I find it has a nice bite to it and a nice flavor. But there's no point in convincing somebody else what tastes good because it is such a personalized thing.
Yeah, and I think we have to always gauge taste versus what's good for you. So if you're suffering from cardiac disease or you have some diabetes, even if things don't taste good, if they're good for you, you probably should come aboard. But if you're in good health, this is my own view, and you know what's the right thing to eat. I'm primarily I'm 100% vegan, 100% vegan all the time. But if I go out, do I get things that have oil in it? Yeah, and I ask if the restaurant can use as little oil as possible. We might be going out for dosa tonight, South Indian food, and they do put oil on the griddle, and so that's that. So it depends on where you're at, but ideally, being as close to a whole food plant-based diet is good, and you have to decide for yourself where you deviate. And it's true like with anything else. Like you might have a budget for something, but that big, I know Cody's an AC/DC fan, that big AC/DC concert's coming, or Bruce Springsteen or whatever, right? And wow, tickets are $120. I can't afford it, but how can I not see that performer? So you do it, right? So it's that kind of thing. We kind of have to make those kinds of decisions. Kathleen has a nice comment. Found you through Kim Giovacco, friend of chef Mark Sirkvenik. Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're so glad to have you here, Kathleen. Kathy Sabo had a comment. The carrots sat in the coconut milk for a while, but then the carrots were removed and squeezed in cheesecloths. The liquid went back into the milk. I'm not sure, Kathy, what you mean. Were you trying to make like a carrot milk? So our next show is actually so many carrots. So maybe I should experiment with making carrot milk. I'll tell you a recipe that my mom used to always make. My mom used to make carrot halva. So I know our Jewish friends, our Middle Eastern friends also know halva. It's a very different halva. It's also very good. Our Turkish friends as well. But in India, halva is a totally different food. Halva is a carrot dish, and my mom would make it. My mom was not vegan. My mom died of a stroke, and they asked me at the hospital, "Did your mom consume a lot of dairy?" Yeah, she did. So my mom, when I was growing up, I wasn't vegan. I wasn't even a vegetarian for
good part of my childhood. So I think my mom and dad figured, they were early immigrants from India. What's this guy going to eat in this meat-eating country? So I used to eat some meat, but it was never at home. It was kind of like our Jewish friends keep kosher. So in the Indian system, the Hindu system, that's an unclean food. But my mom would make grated carrot and she'd boil it in milk. And then she'd have some golden raisins and some slivered almonds and some spices. I think I'd like to try doing something like that. I think I did it once or twice, making kind of what she did, obviously with soy milk or almond milk or something else, rice milk. Okay, let's see. And Suzanne has posted a nice link, and this is about black and red rice are better than brown. Oh, that's interesting. Better than brown. Can you tell us more about that, please, Suzanne? I didn't know that.
Honestly, I just looked it up in response to the conversation because I thought that maybe if we went to nutrition, so I personally love nutritionfacts.org. It was started from Dr. McGregor, and I think his information is really helpful. And pretty much if you have any question to pretty much anything with food, I think you can go to that site and type it in the search bar. And there are usually more than one articles that, they recommend. So I haven't really read this yet myself, but I thought it would just be a good source for people to just know about when there are questions, especially about plant-based diets. He's really full of knowledge. And,
Absolutely.
and everything he posts has many, his big thing is put it to the test. So it's all about, making sure that things are well researched before it's shared.
We all know him. He's awesome. He's like the best. Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org. He's very, just like we are, we're very evidence-based. So everything we present to you is based on evidence. It's kind of cool. Every one of us is involved in so many things, right? So Carolyn sings in her church. She's very active. All of us are active in so many things. I teach math. I used to be a bicycle advocate. But this is one issue, plant-based eating, that's so easy because all the evidence points here. You want to be plant-based. There's so much evidence this is the way to eat. There's some differences of opinion in terms of how much fat, white rice versus brown rice, right? There are some differences, but there's just so much evidence to be fully plant-based. And we do strongly encourage you to be fully plant-based, but how about if you're experimenting and you're moving towards plant-based eating? That's great. So the more plants you eat, the better. Come aboard, be fully plant-based. It's actually very easy. I bought a product in the store yesterday, and this is a different discussion about processed foods. I even when I used to eat meat, hardly ever ate any seafood. And I think this is meant to be like a tuna analog. I've never had tuna, but there's this new product. It's a Korean barbecue thing, and I found it and it was on sale, so I bought it for my family to try. So if you're looking for tastes that you're used to and that you used to eat, and you did used to eat like a meaty diet, there's so many alternatives out there. Personally, I avoid things that taste that look like meat, but some people like that, and just watch out for those foods with the sodium and the processing.
The oils and the fats that are added.
That's right. Shirley Ann Mooney, I found your group on Facebook. It was one of the suggested sites. I'm glad I joined. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Shirley, this is almost our 4th year. And in fact, our garlic show will be our 4th anniversary. What an interesting way to celebrate an anniversary.
Garlic.
That's right. So you can look back at any of our past shows, and we don't have just 4 years worth of shows because Cody and Ella and myself, our children, are in a show called So Many Kids in the Kitchen, and that's directed towards kids, and those recipes tend to be easier, and our audience is meant to be children, but anybody can watch those shows. Let's do a few more questions, and we'll do the drawing. And Janet mentioned she has the dry container for the Vitamix. And then Kathy made an interesting point. My college roommate invited me to her home, and her mom made us a traditional Jamaican meal. One of the most memorable things was the carrot milk, and I should have put your comments in the other order. She made with coconut milk and grated carrots. That sounds good. I'd like to try that. Let's see if there's any other questions. Okay. I think we answered the questions. If I missed any, please. Eileen asked about this, the brand name. Can't remember which brand I shared. So if there's any other questions, please share. Let me ask 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll see if any final questions. How many people are on the question answer list so far, Nancy?
I have 1, 2, 3, 6 people. Now, I have included Kathy Sabo, because she asked a question about plant milks at the same time that you answered it. Happened to
Okay.
be answering it. So she has asked a question.
Excellent.
So I have Bonnie McFall, Eileen Granite, Kathy Sabo, Kathleen King, Janet Doe, and Shirley Ann Mooney. So if I've missed anybody, please put in a comment to let me know that I've missed you.
Yeah, and in just a few minutes we'll do the drawing. You need to be present for the drawing. And and Kathy's saying, not sure if you're seeing all my comments. If you get a chance, I was asking about self-rising flour. Yeah, I did see that. Thanks for pointing that out. Is there anything I should know about it in order to use it? I've seen it, but I'm sure one of you knows far more than I do about that.
All I can say is self-rising flour is very commonly used in the United Kingdom. I, however, am Canadian and tend to stick to my roots, so I don't use self-raising flour that often. But I think it can very easily be made simply by adding baking soda to plain flour. But I couldn't tell you much more than that. It's basically flour and baking soda together.
There's lots of recipes on the internet for it. So if you just put in DIY self-rising flour, but the problem with most self-rising flours is that they are white, highly processed flours.
Yes.
And so you can make your own whole wheat or use a whole wheat pastry flour and then add the baking powder and baking soda and a pinch of salt. That's usually what's in self-rising flour. But there's lots of recipes on the internet, DIY self-rising flour, and you'll find it. So
couple quick points I wanted to make is Jean talked about quinoa and saponin. So saponin is a coating that quinoa has. Quinoa is actually a seed, even though we treat it as a grain. And the saponin gives it a slippery feel. And the ancients, I guess, I always mix it up whether it's the Incans or the Aztecs. And one of you can correct me. I think it was the Incans. The Incans would actually rub water through the quinoa, and what came out they'd use as a soap because it's slippery. The reason Mother Nature puts it there is because it's a bitter taste and it avoids insects eating the grain so that the seed can survive and sprout. This is what I think. My wife and daughter went to Peru and they brought some quinoa back. A lot of quinoa is grown in Peru. And with that quinoa, we carefully washed. But the quinoa I buy in the store, I don't know what it is about what we get in America. It's pretty clean. And I don't bother washing it. I just cook with it. And I haven't noticed any difference. The reason I don't wash it is two reasons. One is I'm lazy. And the second reason is that it's so fine that you'd have to get a cheesecloth and you still lose some of it. And so if anybody took organic chemistry in college, you'll remember you have this trade-off between yield and purity. And so I aim for purity and I don't bother washing it. In my cooking classes, I do demonstrate how to clean it. So if anybody wants to disagree and say no, so Janice says she watched. I didn't know they sold pre-washed quinoa. That's interesting. Does anybody feel differently than I do? Do you feel it's really important to wash your quinoa and that I'm mistaken about it? It looks like Suzanne has some feelings about this.
No, I just sneezed. I muted myself for a minute.
I thought you were grimacing when I was saying that. It's like Dylan doesn't know what he's saying.
No, but I will say when I'm using quinoa in where I want it to stay separated after it's cooked versus sort of, clumpy together, I do rinse it first. And I have a strainer that's just a fine mesh strainer. And so I don't really lose very much of it. Like my regular strainer, it falls through, but my fine mesh strainer, it actually is okay with, but it does help it stay a little more separated. If I'm depending on what I'm using it for, like if I want to throw it in a salad, I feel like when I rinse it first, it comes out a little bit better.
Suzanne, would you mind either posting here or if you need some more time, maybe just telling me privately, separately, which strainer you use? Because I think I'd probably like to get the same strainer. In Indian grocery stores, they have some pretty fine strainers, but I'd love to see what you use.
I mean, honestly, I think they were from the dollar store. There was there were three of them that were together and they were just a really tiny hole. So I was like, I'm going to buy this. I don't think there's a brand name from them.
Okay.
They were just from a dollar store.
And Kathy,
the same ones.
Kathy, it's called saponin. That's the coating on quinoa. Another comment came about color in the scramble when we had the tofu scramble. Who made the tofu scramble? Was it Susanna? I think it was Susanna. Yeah.
Susanna made the tofu scramble.
And so color is always important. So when you're making dinner, try to make sure that you're using all these vibrant colors. First of all, because as Carolyn will say, we eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouth. And you also, I'm also a photographer. I used to be a professional photographer. You want your plate to look pretty. So maybe the main reason is those colors are phytochemicals, which are good for you. When you see color in food, it's cancer fighting, wonderful properties of those that gives the food those colors.
Except for Skittles and Fruit Loops.
Right.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
The ones that grow from the ground.
I have a Fruit Loop story. So I teach math, and one of my math classes is through Stanford University, and I have all these first and second graders online, and they were demonstrating what are called pentagonal and hexagonal numbers. And this one kid who's just brilliant, he did a great, and I encourage all my kids to use colored pencils, and he made a wonderful shape of hexagon using Fruit Loops. And somebody else used marshmallows, and all my kids know I'm vegan. I praised the girl who made this amazing thing with marshmallows. I didn't go further and say, well, marshmallows generally are not vegan, and even if you're vegetarian and not vegan, that's made out of pig bones and cow bones. I didn't talk about that, but I was really proud of my child who used Fruit Loops for color.
The other thing I just wanted to say quickly, an observation I made about Smarties and Skittles a while ago, is our brains are wired to be attracted to foods that are colorful.
Right.
So that's how we evolved, so that we get all of the phytonutrients, all the plant nutrients, because as you say, Dilip, they are in the color is the nutrient. That's the healthy bit. And I find it very interesting that things like Smarties and Skittles, the manufacturers have hijacked that. Mm-hmm. So the reason if all Smarties were beige or all Skittles were beige, they wouldn't be as attractive. So that evolutionary, feature that attracts us to healthy food has been hijacked by the food industry to get us to eat these foods. Anyway, that was mine.
That's another thing I love. I don't know if you have it in front of you. Is you guys all know my love affair with triple cross tangerines. And Carolyn was just eating a triple cross. You still have yours there?
Peel. I still have the peel.
Oh, there's a peel. Even the peel tastes good. Have you ever taken a bite of that peel?
No.
Try it. The peel is really good. Try
Dip it in dark chocolate. It's fabulous.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah, Suzanne has had triple cross, right? And so has Cody. So if you cut open triple cross, it's such a deep, 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 vibrant orange. So I bet you it's even more nutritious than other tangerines. Do you guys want the really bad news about triple cross? It's so sad. It's still early in the season, so they're still slightly sour. They're really good. They're like 102 on a scale of 100. But because of the rains in California, kaput. The season is over. No more triple crosses available.
Sad.
So the consolation prize is right after triple cross, we get Page and we get gold nugget tangerines. And those are like 92 out of 100. So those are very good. They're not fabulous, but anyhow, those of you who are purveyors of triple cross. And then there's a question, Paula. Good to see you, Paula. I assume that's just a typo. My name is not Filipinos. I know you know that, so it's just a typo. I'd love to go to the Philippines sometime and get some of their great pineapple and other food. What was the name of the dates that you order? Well, it's thanks to Carolyn that I found out about these dates. It's Carolyn, you want to tell us about the dates?
Oasis. They're grown in the Coachella Valley. So, I hope they're okay. That's in California too. I hadn't thought about that.
That will explain why. I was going to order some dates like 2 weeks ago, and they're out of the Bari dates, which are the best. And maybe that has something
to do with the weather. It could be the weather. Yeah, they're grown in the Coachella Valley. I know that. Yeah. So unique.
I broke open. They had a sale on like wooden crate. They had this wooden crates for really cheap with Bari dates. And I was saving it to give as a gift to somebody. And I was just dying for Bari dates. I said, they don't have it. So there it is. Yeah, you have that too. So
got it right here.
You have all these things handy.
I'm in my dining room.
And so I opened that crate, and we're enjoying those Bari days. Those are to die for too, right? Although triple cross is even better.
Right here. Yep.
Well, let's do the drawing.
You have to come up with the triple cross and Bari date dessert. That's an interesting idea.
Let's do the drawing. Before we do the drawing, let me just very quickly do this. Let me show you guys. We have our upcoming show is So Many Carrots. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. It's So Many Carrots. That's our next show. Can I show it to you here? I think I can do it here. Yeah, So Many Carrots. So that's April 13th. That'll be a fun show. And then we don't have a graphic. We just came up with this last night. The show after that is So Much Garlic. And the next kids show is about sauces. My daughter's been really excited. She makes a great pesto. And Cody, I know your kids must make some fabulous sauces. And I bet Ella's do too. So let's let's do the drawing, and then we can start to wrap up. I'm helping to proctor a math test that starts in 1 hour, so I have to drop my wife off at a concert she's going to. So let's go ahead and Nancy, what numbers we're up to 6? You said, right?
6.
So I'm going to draw a random number using random.org from 1 to 6. We were just playing with this in one of my math classes, and I showed my kids a really cool way to calculate area of irregular shapes using random numbers. So 1 to 6, the first winner, and the winner will be for the book, for the Ashley, what's her last name? Ashley Madden, I think, plant-based cookbook. Her name is Ashley Madden, plant-based cookbook. So the winner of that is number 2. So who's number 2?
Eileen Granite.
Congratulations, Eileen, a longtime viewer with our show. Thank you for joining us again. And Eileen, please acknowledge. And if you win, what you need to do is you need to send a note to, we should do a show about quinoa, Bonnie, is if you win, email Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com. Yay, Eileen. So, Eileen, please email. I've written down it's the book, but just to be safe, say I won the book and we'll get you the book. And you'll have to tell us what the book's like, because I've never seen the book. Yeah. My daughter's reminding me that we have to leave soon. And then the second prize, and Eileen, if we draw 2 again, we'll draw one more time. The second winner is number 3. So who is 3?
That is Kathy Savo.
Kathy, another longtime viewer. Kathy, you get the magazine subscription. Was it Veg News or was it? It is Veg News. Fabulous magazine. It's not all whole food plant-based, but it's all 100% vegan, and they have lots of good stories about new products and new items in the vegan world. So, Kathy, please acknowledge that you are here and that you will email Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com, and we will get you your magazine subscription. So Kathy Sable, let me go ahead and write congratulations to Kathy for the magazine subscription and Eileen for the book. Okay, so Kathy, I'll give you another moment, and if we don't hear from you, we'll draw again. So let's start to wrap up. I'm excited about the next show. So Bonnie, thanks. This was a fun show, and Cody and Carolyn, what a great time cooking with you, and even more so hanging out with you on the cruise. That was wonderful. And I think the cruise is going to be annual, so please join us. Okay, yeah, and Kathy, got it, great.
And we made pancakes in a bowl the size of a kitchen sink. It was huge.
We were reflecting on that. I think my daughter and I. What did we do with the extra pancakes?
We ate them.
We ate them
Did we
all.
finish all of them?
We ate them. Yes.
I think Brian ate the last 2. I think he
Brian
should
probably did.
found a spot for him. Thank goodness.
Brian has
He's a great cameraman too, by the way. So
I always say Brian has hollow legs. He just stuffs it all in his legs. I don't know where it goes. He's so thin, but he just eats and eats. So.
And then, of course, the show after that's on garlic. And garlic is such a healthy food. So probably in that show, we'll talk a little bit about what if you don't eat garlic. There's a number of people from India, from a dietary point of view, who don't eat onions and garlic, don't eat root vegetables. My mom was like that. So my mom never touched onions or garlic. I mean, she would chop onions if she had to, but she would usually have me do that. And we can talk about that on the show too. I have a bunch of ideas of what I want to make, but I haven't nailed it down yet. And I also have some ideas for the carrot show. So looks like one final comment is coming in. So yeah, Eileen, you must, let me post it here. So you must email Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com. For some reason, I've been having some email problems recently, so that's why it's best to email both. And Karen hopefully will be back in our next show. So she had something, some extenuating circumstances. I love every one of you, how you cook. I like Cody and her gorgeous kitchen and her nursing knowledge, how she brings to it. Nancy is an MD, and she knows a lot about plant-based, evidence-based, the medical background and the way we eat. Suzanne, just your appliances and your depth of knowledge is always wonderful. I've really missed working with you. And Carolyn is, I've been lucky enough to be in her kitchen recently, and Carolyn has been cooking this way for, I think, almost as long as I have. So I love learning your tricks. So it's such an honor working with each one of you guys. And I look forward to seeing who our team is for the Carrot Show and for putting that together. But I guess you're welcome, Eileen. I guess unless anybody has any final comments, we'll say bye, and I'll start heading off to my math event with my family. Any final comments from any of you guys? Cody,
Great
Nancy?
show. Great show,
Great show.
everyone.
A lot of fun. It was good to see you guys again, as always.
I'm just trying to figure out what to make for the carrot show. I've got a couple different ideas. I don't know yet, so I'll figure it out.
Carrot to share it? Carrot to share what it might be?
I'm torn.
I was making a pun.
A carrot to share it. Yes. I am torn between a carrot cake smoothie and maybe raw carrot cake energy bites or something.
Ooh.
So I don't know.
I might
Maybe
make my
people
carrot.
can vote in the comments.
That's a great idea.
And by all means, if you guys ever have any suggestions of things you'd like us to make or shows you'd like us to do, like somebody suggested a quinoa show, and I think that's a really good idea. We should do a quinoa show or maybe a seed and grain show or something like that. I think that would be good.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
definitely.
Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey,
Keep up the cooking
Bye-bye.
and take care. Bye.
Thank you.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.